To continue, here we see that in Colossians 2:8, we see that we are warned, see to it that there is no one who takes you captive through philosophy and empty deceit, according to the basic principles or stoichia of the cosmos or world, rather than believing in the new model of Christ. And then there's other warnings in Galatians here. So here we see the basic 9 or 8 definitions of stoichia. Elements of the cosmos, part of a syllable of a word, which means letter, A, B, C, D, E. Elements of geometry. For example, letter G has a 90-degree angle in Greek. A metaphor for any small unit, smallest part of anything. Name for the genera, which are universally and indivisible of all things. Stars or astral bodies, such as elements of fire. Length of a shadow of the sundial, or to be in a line, march like soldiers in a rank. So just focus on number 7 here. We see if we go to the equinox precession table, which was deciphered by me last November to December of last year, we see that the first, if we line the alphabet's modular 9 order, first 9 letters, A through theta, I through Q, R through Sampi, and so on, we see that they go down to 72 stoichia, and that the first 24 stoichia end at letter chi, which is out of which the sun is born every day, after a 24-hour cycle. But then after a yearly cycle, Orion rises in December, and Sampi in Latin equals Janus, which is where we get the word January from. So at the end of January, the so-called Djed pillar is raised, like we raise this is where the raising of the Christmas tree comes from. And this is the ecliptic pole. Ecliptic pole is raised to line with the Polaris pole, and the cosmos is reset. And this is the daily cycle, this is the yearly cycle. But then if we go through to the end, we get to the fact that the precession of the equinox changes 1 degree every 72 years. So this is the 72-year cycle of the stoichia. So we have the march of the sundial, goes up to 24, the march of the sundial in 1 day, march of the sundial in 1 year, reborn here, and the march of the sundial in 72 years, which changes the equinox precession by 1 degree. So that summarizes loosely where the word stoichia comes from. Here we see the trachea lung problem. We've already touched on this. For example, why are we told to believe? For example, according to standard linguistics, here we see the cover of Max Muller's Science of Language, where he has a trachea on the cover, but he doesn't know where the word T of trachea comes from. He doesn't know that it comes from Egypt. So why do we have a lung here, which starts from letter L here? Happy's cave is over here where he pumps on the flood waters of the lung to make the water flow up. And this is the T water system. The green plants are growing along the trachea. Which gives us words such as trachea and lungs. But if we go down here, we were told that the word trachea was coined by the Proto-Indo-Europeans from this word, and that lung was coined by the fictional or invented Proto-European civilization from this word 9,000 years ago, something along these lines. So instead of being fed this fake linguistics, we now have tools which explain that letter L of the word lungs comes from this lip opening tool, and the T of trachea comes from the R26 sign, or the trachea with lungs at the bottom. Likewise, this summarizes how loosely, with respect to linguistics, we have been like Indians standing on the shore who have not been able to see the ships sailing through the sea. With respect to where the Indian and European words come from, this is called ships not seen parable. For example, here we see Flinders Petrie clearly standing next to what looks like letter A on the Marineth stela, yet he's not able to recognize this. This is the hieroglyphic sign for letter A. Even though Kircher, 200 or so years before him, said this was the hieralpha, because Young had decided that the whole means love. So it's erased out of his mind owing to the so-called master says so ideology. And linguists, because Egyptologists have been sent off in this direction, have been looking for the language epicenter of the world around the Caucasus Mountains, because this is where Japheth, one of the sons of Noah, landed, according to the Bible, which founded the European languages. So they've been trying to figure out either the European languages came from Turkey or from the Russian steppes, north or south of the Caucasus, which is kind of like being lost in wonderland, linguistic wonderland. This is two of the quotes from the one-page Edemy Jomard. He's one of the editors from the Description of Egypt publication. He says, Plutarch tells us that the Egyptian alphabet was composed of 25 letters. But this has yet to be precisely unraveled. Johann Vader, the editor to Johann Aderlang's Mithraeus, says that the unknown language of the Rosetta Stone and the bandages often found in mummies is capable of being analyzed into an alphabet consisting of little more than 30 letters, specifically 25 letters. So in these quotes, we want to keep in mind that when Young wrote his Egypt article, he dismissed this claim about the historically reported 25-letter Egyptian alphabet.